Hello, Jackson Lucitt. How are you?
What's happening, Charlie? Right, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Brilliant. Appreciate you taking your time out to do this.
No, thanks for having me, mate. Thanks for having me. No problem at all. It was a strange one, really, because the usual answer here is, "Oh, my parents were into music, and I absorbed all these cool sounds and that." But so I grew up in Port Talbot, South Wales, in sort of the 80s and 90s, and my mother was just listening to Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, and Gloria Estefan all the time. So there was no like Oasis or Smiths or anything like that in my house.
Yeah.
But I just a bit of everything, really. So it's like got into all pop music, top 40 stuff that way. And then later, obviously, got into Oasis, Arctic Monkeys, liked a bit of R&B and hip hop, and believe it or not, when I was like 13, 14. Yeah, just my grandparents into like Elvis and Johnny Cash. So there was always a bit of something, but it wasn't, it was a lot later on that I got into proper music, if you call it that.
Yeah. And you so you said you grew up in Port Talbot. You moved to Yorkshire, wasn't it?
Yeah, I lived in Selby, which is about 10 miles from York. Lived there for 6-7 years, I think. But like the music scene up, well, as you probably know, like up north is a much sort of more concentrated effort for people going to gigs. So I got into gigs a lot more when I was up there, and actually playing guitar a lot more when I was up there then. So I was around people who did it all the time.
So did you start to learn the guitar then, or was it always like a passion of yours?
No, I got bought like a second-hand guitar when I was about 10 years old, something like that. And when I had to, like, every morning walk across town to school, because I went to a Catholic school, and you just used to get tortured by the kids from the other school. They could have carried a guitar. It's like, you can imagine all the things you call. I was like, I'm not playing guitar. I'll stick to football. And then when I moved to Yorkshire, then I was like, well, I've got nothing else, because I was working shifts at the time. I literally had nothing else, so I was like, I'm going to give this a go. So that was about 10 years ago. And it was just something that I could do. The more time I put into it, the better I got it, which was, I didn't have to be like a natural talent to it. So it was good. It was a nice thing to pass time. And that's just progressed really then into, I always liked writing, like, not poetry, but like, I was inspired by the likes of like Morrissey and Dylan, Alex Turner, that storytelling aspect. So I used to write about like the characters of Port Talbot and like the local thief and Paul the Thief. I wrote one about him, and then I was like, if I play guitar, I can make a song here. So yeah, that was it really. I just cracked on with that.
Oh, that's brilliant. So is that how you started with like writing music?
Yeah, well, because I'd watched, I don't know if you see the film Nowhere Boy, about like John Lennon and the Beatles before, up to the start of the Beatles really. And because I've written these like little poems, if you want to call it that, about like the characters of Port Talbot, like I say, Paul the Thief, there's a few other ones, Steelworks, and just being like working class. And in this film Nowhere Boy, Paul McCartney knocks John Lennon's door and he says, if we're going to make it big, we need to start writing our own music. And he said, I've got poems. Well, if you put music to it, you got a song. And I was like, there might be something in that. Like, so then when I obviously played guitar, I still played like the simple chords and just try and make it a little bit more quirky and get as much of it as I can, really. But very simple. What I do is very, very basic, but effective, I like to think.
Yeah. So when did you because you didn't go straight into like performing music or like go straight to that? Did you was it a band manager?
Yeah, so it's a band from like Swansea, the Riff. I seen them a lot of times. They were into covers, then they started doing their own stuff. And because I was living in Yorkshire, I was like, I'll put a gig on for you in Yorkshire. Never done it before, and I just like looked into it and hired the venue basically. Looked at like did a bit of background research, just looking at other bands that are sort of the same size, other venues the same size, see what the ticket prices were, how they go about it. And we sold it out like over like 200 tickets. We sold it out. And I thought, this is easy, this thing. Like. So I'll do more of this. And when I moved back home, they asked me to sort of put on gigs for them. So I did a 9-day tour then, which I think they sold out a lot of dates for that. And I was like, this is easy. Why isn't everybody doing this? And then you obviously get the harsh reality of, it's not always that easy. You're going to play venues, but there's nobody in there. So I ended up then played a venue down in Exeter. I think it was the Cavern. It was called the Cavern in Exeter. And they were supposed to support the band on there. The main band didn't couldn't make it, so they headlined, and then they were like last minute, oh, you can support us. So I've only done open mics, so I ended up like shaking my way on stage and things to settle the nerves, and I just got into actually, oh, you know what, there's something in this as well. I give this a go. So it's all been sort of, I wouldn't say I've winged it, but I just, maybe because I'm a little bit older now, it's just there's been no fear of, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's, you know, I've still got a job. So yeah, it's just, yeah, it's cliche as it sounds. That's it, really.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's worked out quite well because you're what did you start doing your singing lessons and that before it was all before COVID, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, but it was basically after that gig in Exeter, so I was November 2019, I think. And I did that, and then I come home and I was like, you know what, I enjoyed that gig, and I couldn't sing. Like when I say I could hold it, it was a bit more. I'd try my best, but I keep it all short, and like it'd be more like talking rather than singing. And I thought, you know, I'd give singing lessons a go. So I started, like, just went on Google and found a local like singing teacher, and it's in this like school, like music school. So I turn up like after work in my like jumper, my work jumper covered in like oil and that. And there's just kids there, like 10, 11, 12-year-old kids going for piano lessons, cello lessons. I'm there sat like, yeah, I'm here for my singing lessons. Well, I had about three months of that. And I'll tell you what, worth every penny. Like, to be fair, the teacher, she was great. I was worth every penny. And then it was more about the confidence thing. I'd give anything over. It was like confidence, like little techniques. And then obviously I've been lucky to be surrounded by, like, when I say good mates, they're all some of the best musicians I know. So it's just like, when they come over here, if ever I see them, these are all people who are doing their own things, like fantastic band, turning out fantastic songs, and they've always got like a word of advice or a bit of encouragement, and they won't have you like even jokingly put yourself down, like being self-deprecating, being like, oh, I'm not that good. They're like, oh, shut up, man. You know, stop get out that mindset. So I've been lucky in that aspect that the people that like I am around with like day to day, they're all musicians, and there's always guidance there, and not in a serious kind of way that would probably, if it felt like hard work, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. More like a passion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like how you was mentioning your influences for your music. Like I listen to it's Tex Back Blues, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And instantly I was just thinking that's Jake Bugg there, like that start.
We would talk about it last night, in fact, me and the boys, and I won't mention the radio station, but I'd sent the song off to the radio station, and yeah, you're not going to get played, which is great, you know, fine, whatever, can have some feedback. And you know, he gave me a lot of feedback, and you can't argue with that. I know it's somebody's opinion, and he's like, oh, you know, it's derivative of Jake Bugg, which is derivative of Johnny Cash. And I was like, well, that's the sort of genre. And that was my excuse. But if I don't end up in court with Jake Bugg for that song, I'll never make it. I must be playing when I wrote it. I was like, this is brilliant. Yeah, the boys who work like Jake Bugg, Nick. I was like, nah, it's not, is it? Yeah, you hear all my songs, there'll be something you could hear. Probably the song I'm listening to at the time is in that song somewhere. Again, laziness.
But it seems to have been like since the pandemic, just like obviously researching for this interview, since like we're coming out of the pandemic, and like all the gigs now, like for bands are getting put back on, and venues are like getting busier again. It seems like have you got quite a few gigs planned? Because I know you've got the it's In It Together festival, haven't you?
Yeah. To be honest, I'd written down like a load of venues I wanted to play, and because of the background already, working with these venues for other bands, built up a bit of a community, right word, you know, but networking, they call it these days, but that type of thing. And it's opening those parts of conversation with people, so I can just drop a venue an email, hi, I'm me again, you know, blah, blah. And it's always like point of contact is, I'd always say to people, don't be daunted, you can only ask, they're only going to say no, or not, probably not reply. So I thought I'm going to do all these venues around the country, and we'll go for that. I got asked to play it together festival, which was a shock. I was actually, I'm just going to get 3 or 4 gigs beforehand, almost as warm-up gigs for that, so we get it right. So we play in Newport, I think, the pub, Bunkhouse. That's the first headliner in Bunkhouse, and then it's the festival. So, and I'm just going to see how it goes after that. And I like to do more gigs, but at the moment there's just that much going on. Want to get some new music out there as well. So I don't really want to be playing the same set over and over again.
Yeah,
Sort of quality, not quantity type of thing at the moment. When there's a few more songs, because I've only got like 9 or 10 songs at the moment. When there's a few more songs there, maybe I'll do a few, so it doesn't get repetitive for us as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be brilliant, that first festival. Quite a big one as well, isn't it? And Noel Gallagher there as well.
Yeah, it's sort of been billed as the Welsh Glastonbury, which, you know, you put a gig on your back garden and it's what people call a glass homebrew or something these days. So, but yeah, it's like Noel Gallagher, Tiny Temper, Armand Van Helden, Vaccines, loads of bands, and me. So I think they've got me for the local element. It's like 3 miles from my own.
Nah, I'm there on merit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yes.
I just want to go back a bit to so like if you say like someone come to you for like some inspiration, like they wanted to start a band or start writing music, it's like a pastime. If you could just, what would you say to them?
First, I know it's a cliche, but it is just do it. Like, you know, I've got a like notepad here, literally like just notes after reading like before this interview, just a couple of things, like just memory things. But I look through there and it's just like notes. If I have folders these days, great, because if you've got an idea, even if you're whistling a tune, you can record it in the folders there. If you like, you might see a sign in the street, you're like, oh, that, I like that, or you hear a rhyme somewhere, like, oh, I like that. And you can build a song literally around that. But it doesn't have to be the Beatles. It doesn't have to be like, it starts off like my song is actually 3 chords, very repetitive. It's a song at the end of the day, and you're not going to get criticised. So if anybody criticises you, just like, well, let's listen to your song then. And unless it is Paul McCartney, then you're all right, isn't it? But as far as but whatever it is, if you're looking to like go into the way I did it worked well for me, because it was sort of an apprenticeship in the whole aspect of things. You work with bands, you see how they work, what's required for a gig and things like that. But I think the best thing to do is just go to gigs, speak to people, speak to the band, speak to the guy who's selling tickets on the door, and that's it really. And don't know, if anybody is bothered and they want to drop me an email or whatever and ask for anything, then they're more than welcome to that. But you won't find many people in the music industry or whatever you want to call this, the music community then, whose door isn't open. You'd be hard pushed to find, you know, I don't try not to swear it, but somebody who's not going to give you their time then. But yeah, just ask really and give it a go. If you fancy doing something, do it.
Yeah, get in amongst it.
Yeah, what's the worst that's going to happen? If you want to go big, go big. If you just want to put like a little event on in your local community centre, do that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered everything there. Is there anything you'd like to plug for the future or anything?
Yeah, well, obviously we got the Newport and Swansea gigs, and we're in it together thing. But listen to songs, listen to Rotanas, get them on repeat. But yeah, man, just thanks for having me. And like I say, if anybody wants advice or just a chat or whatever, just drop me an email or Facebook or Twitter or whatever.
No, I really appreciate you coming on, man.
No, no worries.